All right, so we're diving deep into TeleSol Group today.
Yeah.
Our listeners have sent in a ton of articles and research on them. So there's clearly some interest in understanding what this company is all about.
Definitely a fascinating company.
Yeah, so we're going to break down their journey,
Yeah.
from starting as a small company in Amsterdam to becoming this global force in network infrastructure. But even more importantly, we want to figure out what they actually do and how it could impact our listeners.
Absolutely.
Like, why should anyone care about TeleSol Group?
Well, what's interesting is that they didn't actually start out trying to, take over the world or anything. Back in 2005, they were just this small company. They were trading passive network components.
Like, what kind of components are we talking?
Yeah, cables, connectors, that sort of thing.
Okay, so like the basic building blocks of a network.
Exactly. The nuts and bolts.
So how do they go from selling parts to managing like entire global networks?
Right. It's a pretty big leap. It's a story of smart evolution,
Okay.
They realized that a lot of companies were struggling with this like logistical nightmare of deploying IT infrastructure globally.
Oh, I bet.
Different countries, different regulations, different languages.
Yeah, it sounds like a mess.
It's a huge headache, and TeleSol started offering to handle all of it.
Really? So they became like the global IT movers.
Pretty much, they took care of the international shipping, the customs, the taxes, the whole 9 yards.
So they were like, hey, we're already shipping these parts all over the world.
Right.
Why not just let us manage the whole process for you?
Exactly. And it was a brilliant move.
Yeah, it seems like that strategy paid off because now they're working with some pretty big names.
Oh, yeah. Huge companies, international network providers, financial institutions, media companies, cloud providers, you name it.
Wow. Even the major IT equipment vendors themselves rely on TeleSol.
That's true. And that tells you a lot, right?
Yeah, it says they've got a serious reputation for being able to handle those really complex global deployments.
The kind of deployments that most companies just wouldn't even touch.
Okay. I'm starting to see why you said their story was fascinating.
It's a classic story of entrepreneurship.
Right. They saw a need. They filled it. And they just kept building from there.
Exactly.
But let's get down to the specifics.
Okay.
What are these complex deployments that they're handling?
Sure.
Like, what does TeleSol actually do?
Well, they have 5 main service categories.
5.
Yeah. And each one addresses a different piece of this global IT infrastructure puzzle.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
So let's start with their foundation network infrastructure build.
Network infrastructure build.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty straightforward.
It is in a way.
So they just build networks, right?
Well, yeah, they handle everything from those initial site surveys,
Mm-hmm.
figuring out where to put those equipment cabinets, all the way to the actual installation and testing of these really complex fiber optic networks.
Wait, hold on. Fiber optics.
Yep.
Those tiny glass cables that carry data at the speed of light.
The very...
That sounds incredibly delicate and precise.
It is.
So how do they make sure that everything is working perfectly?
Right.
Especially across a network that spans like multiple continents.
Well, that's where their meticulous approach comes in.
Okay.
They have this unique process where they meticulously clean and scope every inch of the fiber optic cables before they even begin testing.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
So it's like they're making sure the pipes are clean before pumping water through them.
That's a great way to put it.
You're getting rid of any blockages or contaminants that could cause problems later?
Exactly. And it's a step that a lot of companies skip over.
I bet.
It's time consuming,
Yes.
And it can be a bit tedious, but TeleSol understands that taking this extra step up front,
Yeah.
it drastically reduces the chance of those errors or faults down the line.
And with a global network, those errors could have some serious consequences.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine a transatlantic cable going down
Right.
because of like a tiny speck of dust
Exactly.
that could cost companies millions.
Millions in lost productivity and downtime.
So by being so meticulous,
Mm-hmm.
TeleSol's actually saving their clients a ton of potential headaches and money in the long run.
Exactly. They're sweating the small stuff so their clients don't have to.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So they build these networks, but what happens once everything is up and running?
Right.
Who's responsible for keeping the lights on, so to speak.
That's where their second service category comes in network maintenance.
Network maintenance.
Yeah, and this is where their global reach becomes really important.
Okay.
You got to imagine having a network that spans multiple time zones.
Yeah.
You need support that's available 24/7.
Right. Nonstop.
And that's exactly what TeleSol provides.
So they're like the global IT emergency hotline.
Haha, kind of.
You call them up in a panic when your network goes down, and they swoop in to save the day.
Well, it's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
They offer a range of service level agreements, or SLAs.
Right. SLAs.
Yeah, and these guarantee specific response times based on how serious the issue is.
So like if you have a minor issue,
Right.
something that's causing a slowdown but not a complete outage.
Exactly. You might opt for a 72-hour response time.
Okay.
That gives their technicians plenty of time to diagnose the problem and maybe fix it remotely.
But what if it's like a major outage?
Okay.
Like the entire system crashes and you can't process orders or access critical data?
For those situations, they offer SLAs with much faster response times.
How fast are we talking?
As fast as 2 hours.
Wow.
They'll have a qualified technician on site ready to get things back online as quickly as possible.
And if it's like a truly catastrophic scenario?
Yeah, like the end of the world for your network.
Basically.
They have a best effort option.
Okay.
They'll mobilize all their resources as quickly as possible.
To get you back up and running.
Exactly.
So no matter what time of day or night it is, no matter where in the world your office is located, TeleSol can have someone at your door within a guaranteed time frame.
That's the promise.
That's incredible. It's like having a global safety net for your entire IT infrastructure.
Exactly. Peace of mind.
But it's not just about speed, right?
You know, it's also about expertise.
Okay.
They have 5 levels of technical support.
5 different levels.
Yeah, ranging from those remote hands engineers who can handle basic on-site tasks like rebooting servers or swapping out cables.
Okay, so like the first responders.
Basically.
And then they have those elite smart hands plus engineers.
Yes, those are the specialists.
Who can troubleshoot those really complex network issues.
Exactly. Diagnose fiber optic problems and even lead entire network builds.
It's like having a global team of IT superheroes on call 24/7.
I like that analogy.
But there's something else I wanted to ask about.
Sure.
What's the deal with the office support services?
Oh, yeah, that one.
It seems a bit out of place for a company that specializes in global network infrastructure.
I know, it seems a little strange at first.
Yeah, like why are they setting up printers and employee laptops?
Well, think about it. How much time do internal IT departments waste on those seemingly simple tasks?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Every time a new employee starts, someone has to set up their workstation,
Right.
install software, and figure their email.
Yeah, it eats up a lot of time.
It does, and that's time they could be spending on more strategic tasks.
Like optimizing network security or planning for future growth.
Exactly.
So TeleSol is freeing up those internal IT resources by taking care of the everyday stuff.
That's the idea.
It's another example of them anticipating those pain points that companies face.
And coming up with solutions that might seem unexpected, but ultimately make their clients' lives easier.
Very clever.
Yeah, they've really thought of everything.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
Aha!
They clean fiber optics before testing. They've got a global IT SWAT team on speed dial. And they'll even set up your grandma's new laptop.
Right.
TeleSol is like the Swiss Army knife of IT services.
It's a good way to put it.
But I'm still trying to wrap my head around how they manage all of this.
Yeah.
It's like they have eyes and ears everywhere.
Well, in a way, they do.
Okay, tell me more.
It's all thanks to their network operations centers.
Their NOCs.
Exactly.
Okay, remind me what those are again.
So we touched on them briefly before, but these are essentially the brains of the operation, the central command centers that monitor and manage all of those massive global networks.
So instead of waiting for something to go wrong
Right.
and then scrambling to fix it,
Yeah.
they're proactively monitoring everything, looking for problems before they become disasters.
That's the goal.
I like it.
Imagine a giant digital dashboard with real-time data streaming in from networks all over the world.
Wow.
That's what these NOCs are like.
Really?
Highly trained network specialists are watching those dashboards 24/7.
24/7.
Yep, looking for any sign of trouble, unusual traffic spikes, performance slowdowns, security threats, anything out of the ordinary.
It's like having a team of air traffic controllers,
Uh-huh.
making sure all the planes are flying smoothly and avoiding any collisions.
That's a great analogy. And because they have 2 NOCs,
Right.
one in Europe and one in Asia, they have truly global coverage across all time zones.
So no matter where your network is located, there's always a team of experts watching over it.
Always.
Okay, that makes sense. But what kind of problems are they actually looking for?
Sure.
And how do they know when something is serious enough to actually take action?
So they're looking for anything that could disrupt network performance or compromise security.
Okay.
It could be something as simple as a server running out of disk space,
Right.
or as complex as a distributed denial of service attack.
Those are nasty.
They are, and they're constantly analyzing data, too,
Okay.
looking for patterns and trends that might indicate a future problem.
So they're not just reacting to alarms.
No.
They're trying to predict what might go wrong based on past behavior and historical data.
Exactly. It's called predictive maintenance.
Predictive maintenance.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty next level.
It is. Imagine knowing that a particular piece of equipment is likely to fail within the next few weeks based on its usage patterns and performance data.
Right.
So instead of waiting for it to crash and cause an outage,
Yeah.
they can just proactively schedule a replacement during a planned maintenance window.
That's brilliant.
It's like knowing your car needs new brakes before they start grinding and you get into an accident.
Right. It's all about prevention rather than reaction.
Exactly.
But how do they actually fix these problems once they've identified them?
Okay.
Do those network specialists in the NOC, like, jump on a plane and fly to wherever the issue is?
Haha. Not
Right, okay.
Remember those different levels of technical support we talked about earlier?
Right. The remote hands engineers and the smart hands plus engineers.
Exactly. The NOC acts as a sort of triage center.
Okay.
They assess the situation, figure out what kind of expertise is needed, and then they dispatch the right person for the job.
So if it's a simple fix,
Yeah.
they might just guide a local technician through it remotely.
Right.
But if it's more complex, they'll send in one of those elite smart hands plus engineers.
Exactly. And they handle all the logistics of getting those engineers on site,
Wow.
no matter where in the world they need to go.
So travel visas, customs clearances.
Yep. They take care of it all.
It's like having that global Ike SWAT team we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
ready to parachute in at a moment's notice.
And handle any crisis.
Now, speaking of that global IT SWAT team,
Yeah.
I keep thinking about that dedicated private NOC service. Help me understand that again.
Sure.
It's like they're outsourcing your entire IT help desk.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Imagine you're a company with customers all over the world.
Yeah.
And you need to provide 24/7 technical support.
Yeah.
Building and staffing that kind of operation in-house would be incredibly expensive and complex.
Especially if you're dealing with multiple languages, different time zones,
Exactly.
and varying levels of technical expertise.
It would be a logistical nightmare.
So instead of trying to do it all themselves,
Mm-hmm.
companies can basically rent TeleSol's expertise.
That's the idea.
I like it.
TeleSol will dedicate a team of specialists
Okay.
who are trained on that client's specific products and services.
Wow. So they're not just answering the phones with the generic, hello, IT support, how can we help you?
No.
They're providing expert support that's tailored to the client's unique needs.
Exactly. They use the client's branding,
Wow.
their communication channels, even their ticketing system.
So to the outside world, it's completely seamless.
It is.
It's like the client is handling the support themselves.
But behind the scenes, it's all powered by TeleSol's global network of experts.
And those two state-of-the-art NOCs,
Exactly.
that's incredible. It's like having a secret weapon
Kind of.
that gives you instant global IT credibility without having to build it from scratch.
It really is a testament to how well they understand the challenges companies face.
Yeah, they've thought of everything.
They have.
Anticipating those pain points and then providing solutions that are both innovative and practical.
And effective.
You know, all this talk about complex systems and global reach is fascinating.
It is.
But it's easy to forget that there are actual humans at the heart of all of this.
That's true.
So what can you tell us about TeleSol's company culture
Okay.
and how they attract and retain all this amazing talent?
That's a great question, and it's something that really stood out to me when I was looking through all this information.
Okay.
They seem to have a very human-centric approach,
Really?
which is a bit unusual for the tech industry.
Yeah, I was going to say the tech world is known for that work hard, play hard culture,
Right.
which can be fun for some people,
Yeah.
but it's not sustainable for everyone.
Not at all. And that's where TeleSol seems to be doing things differently.
Okay.
They emphasize values like empathy, respect, integrity, and collaboration.
Interesting.
They even talk about work-life balance as a core value.
Wow, that's pretty rare in an industry that's famous for burnout.
It is. It's refreshing to see.
Yeah, it makes you think that they understand that happy and fulfilled employees are more likely to provide exceptional service.
Exactly. And that commitment to their employees
Yeah.
extends to their recruitment services.
Oh, right. They have that vast network of IT professionals all over the world.
Exactly.
But they're not just using it for their own staffing needs.
Right.
They're also helping other companies find the right talent.
Yeah. Whether it's for short-term projects or permanent positions.
So they're sharing their secret sauce for talent acquisition.
It is pretty generous considering how competitive the tech job market is these days.
Yeah, no kidding.
It speaks to their overall philosophy of collaboration and partnership.
I see.
They're not trying to hoard all the best talent for themselves. They're trying to raise the bar for the entire industry.
You know, it's funny.
It's that.
We started this deep dive talking about cables and connectors.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
But now we're talking about empathy and work-life balance.
It's true.
It's clear that TeleSol is a lot more than just a tech company.
Yeah, they're a company that understands the human side of technology.
And that's reflected in everything they do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we have a pretty good grasp on what those network operations centers do and how they contribute to the overall success of this global operation.
Yeah, they're a key part of the puzzle.
But there's one final piece we need to explore before we wrap up.
You're talking about their commitment to sustainability?
Exactly. We've seen how they handle the technical and human aspects of IT.
Yeah.
But what about their impact on the environment and their role as global citizens?
That's a big one.
It is.
And we'll dive into all of that in part 3.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's talk about the planet.
The planet.
You know, how does a company with a global footprint like TeleSol approach sustainability and responsible business practices?
It's a big question.
It is.
And it's one that more and more businesses are thinking about these days.
For sure.
And honestly, I think this is where TeleSol's approach gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Remember that data center decommissioning service we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, the one where they safely remove and dispose of old data center equipment?
Exactly.
To be honest, it sounded a bit dry.
I know what you mean.
Compared to their global SWAT teams and fiber optic deep cleaning rituals.
Right. But it's actually a great example of their commitment to sustainability.
Really?
Yeah, think about it.
Okay.
Data centers are full of servers, storage devices, networking gear, all packed with precious metals and potentially hazardous materials.
Right.
If that stuff ends up in a landfill, it's a huge environmental problem.
So they're not just ripping out those servers and calling it a day?
No, definitely not.
So what are they doing differently?
They're going above and beyond to make sure that everything is disposed of responsibly.
Okay.
They work with certified partners who specialize in data security and environmental compliance.
So the hard drives are wiped clean?
Yeah, or physically destroyed.
To protect all that sensitive information?
Exactly.
And the equipment itself?
Right.
Is it recycled?
If it can be.
Or if it's reached the end of its life? It's disposed of in a way that minimizes environmental impact.
Exactly. They're thinking about the whole life cycle of the equipment.
Wow.
From the moment it's installed to the moment it's uninstalled.
It's a closed loop.
It is.
Minimizing waste and making sure that those valuable resources are either reused or disposed of responsibly.
And this commitment goes beyond just decommissioning.
Okay.
You know, they list environmentally conscious business practices as a core value. So it seems to be a part of their entire operation.
I like that.
Yeah.
But what about the social side of responsibility?
Okay.
We know they treat their employees well.
Right.
But do they do anything else to benefit the community or address social issues?
That's a good question. And honestly, that's where the information gets a little thin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The sources you provided didn't really go into detail about any specific social responsibility programs.
That's too bad.
It would be great to know how they're using their global reach and resources to make a positive impact outside of just IT.
Yeah, I agree.
But, you know, their focus on empathy, respect, inclusivity, and diversity, those values suggest that they are at least thinking about those broader social issues.
True. Maybe it's something they'll talk more about in the future.
Yeah.
But for now, it seems like they're focused on getting the sustainability part right.
And that's a great foundation.
It is.
And it's something that should matter to you.
To me.
Yeah, as someone who might be partnering with them.
Right.
In today's world, it's not enough for a company to just be good at what they do.
I agree.
They also need to be good global citizens.
Well said.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From TeleSol's humble beginnings in Amsterdam to their global network of experts. From fiber optic cleaning to data center decommissioning.
It's been quite a journey.
What's your final takeaway?
For me, it's the combination of their technical expertise
Okay.
and their commitment to doing things the right way.
Right.
They've thought about all the challenges of managing global IT infrastructure, not just the technical stuff, but the human and environmental challenges too.
I think that's a perfect summary.
Yeah.
They're not just selling services.
Right.
They're selling peace of mind.
And they're doing it in a way that feels responsible and sustainable.
Which is so important these days.
It is, and that's something for our listeners to really consider as they're making decisions about their own IT needs.
I like that.
Do you want a company that just gets the job done, or do you want a partner that aligns with your values?
That's a great question to leave everyone with.
Some food for thought.
And who knows, maybe in a few years we'll do another deep dive on TeleSol.
Yeah.
We'll see how they've evolved and what new things they're up to.
I'd be interested to see.
Until then, happy networking, everybody.
Take care.